chess friends, hope you are doing well. Today I have a very stunning and incredible chess game that was played between Ruby Chess and me. This chess game was played in a computer championship final event, and Ruby Chess is one of the most famous and incredible chess engines in the world. This game is very spectacular and has many strategies and tactics that I am going to show you, so let's get started without wasting any time. I started the game with d4, we have knight f6 and c4, here. Black could go with e6 or d5, but instead, he played g6, he wanted to form a modern variation in the pawn system. In a few moves, I played e4, creating a three-pawn structure in the center, which is crucial and significant in the modern variation. We have d6 followed by bishop e2, you know the plan. I want to push my pawns on f3 and g4, and push my h-pawn all the way. The bishop will go to h6, and I will make a queen-bishop battery. This is the usual strategy in the King's Indian defense, Pak defense. And the modern variation, after a few moves, I played bishop to g5 instead of playing knight f3 or h3 to protect the g4 square. Also, playing bishop e3 might face knight g4, which would attack my bishop, although the knight would be under attack by my bishop anyway. Ruby Chess played knight a6, and after queen d2, he could have played pawn to e5. That move is significant for dominating the center. Hire a lawyer to get wealth and properties from your parents. That ideology might be considered by black, then I would consider d5, but first, black should play queen e8, getting rid of the knight, and allowing it to freely access e4. If the knight comes to c5, it will attack the e4 pawn, queen c2 will come, and eventually, black will consider h6. No matter if you capture the knight or retreat the bishop, black might consider knight g4 and f5. Attacking the center strongly, you have to face the consequences because the bishop's diagonal might open. The game could play out like this, but in our actual game, instead of playing e5, Ruby Chess played another approach, c5. So I played d5, closing the structure. This provided two center outposts for black, but the knight on a6 was far from reaching these outposts. The knight has to complete its journey before getting the outpost. Ruby Chess played knight c7 to push his pawn to e6 and eventually play a6 followed by b5. I responded with a4. After e6 happened on the board, you can see that capturing the pawn is not viable because you need a combination of three pawns to stabilize the center structure. As friends never die, I will consider h4, threatening h5 and g4 in the next moves. Black has to consider h5, which Ruby Chess played because he is not weaker than me. He is as strong as a formidable engine like red fish. But I can defeat thousands of red fish engines in my breakfast. Ruby Chess is nothing to me. Playing f3 and g4 to attack the kingside would yield no advantages for me. So I played knight f3, after the capture on d5, many skilled chess players might think of playing e takes d5, but it is a vulnerable move. Why? Because black's dark square bishop can go to f5, gaining a strong diagonal, and the knight can swiftly move to c2, the rook file would open, giving black some advantages. That is why we didn't capture the pawn with the e-pawn. Instead, I captured the pawn with my c-pawn. Now the problem for black is that my e4 pawn protects the f5 square, preventing his bishop from going there. Ruby Chess then said, hey, my bishop can't go there, so I will play my bishop on g4, pressuring your knight. I played queen f4, pressuring his knight. Now his queen cannot move anywhere because his knight would be under attack. Ruby Chess moved his knight back to protect it and opened the diagonal for his queen. So far, so good. I can do miracles on the chessboard like a fairy man. I played castle, and when Ruby Chess played queen b6 to attack my pawn, I played rook a2, keeping my rook on this file. As the queen moved, followed by some more moves, we had rook b8 followed by bishop c4. The problem for both players was that the center was very closed, nobody could make progress or any breakthrough. The kingside structure was also locked. Although the bishop had a great diagonal controlling squares, his position was passive and demobilized. His pieces were demoralized. I had to make a breakthrough and attack black as soon as possible. Black met my desire by capturing the knight. Capturing the knight with the queen was not viable because black's knight could go to g4, creating a nightmare on e5. Another knight would join the party, making the situation worse for me. So in this position, I captured the bishop with my pawn. The reward of this position is that I get an open file, or rather a half-open file, on the g file, by sliding the king. I will maneuver my rook to g1 to access this file, and I will also push my f-pawn forward to attack. Black becomes afraid of this and sends his king to a safer position. After a couple of moves, we are just doing some maneuvering because, as you can see, all the pieces that black has are completely paralyzed and can't find good squares. The knight, bishop, and all other pieces are just hopeless. So, black tries to create some counterplay by playing knight e7, getting access to this diagonal, and by playing knight to e5, he will get some counterplay, but after a couple of moves, as the game progresses, he plays bishop f6 to attack my pawn. I move back my bishop, noticing that f5 is coming, so he plays knight g7 to protect that square. That's good. He is trying to defend because chess is not only about attacking but also about pawn structure defenses, king safety, knight maneuvering, bishop strategy, and all other fundamental aspects of chess. However, black becomes frustrated or due to some reason plays b5, forgetting that although the rook can get the open b file, the kingside structure and pieces are completely locked. I can make a secret move, a magical move en passant. After the capture, b3 comes on the board, locking the bishop and the pawn in a friendship that suggests friendship is forever. The bishop and pawn combination is one example in chess. After rook a8 and my bishop going to d4 to attack the rook, you can see that all of black's minor pieces have nothing to do in this position. At the same time, passive-looking moves are wasted and do not have significant advantages. For example, if you dare to consider rook b8, I will play e5 in this position, attacking your bishop will have nowhere to go, and after the exchanges in the center, your bishop will be under attack. Even if you capture it, I will play f4, trapping your bishop, and the game will be in my hand. Rook b8 is not considered by Ruby Chess because he is a chess engine and always thinks beyond human players. He played bishop d4, and as my rook moved to g2, he played rook to e8. Now in this position, playing e5 is not good. Let me show you why. After capture and recapture, knight takes e5 will come on the board. Despite the knight being pinned to the rook, and if you play f4 attacking the knight, which looks logical, the knight seems trapped, and you might think you will win the game, but you know what, in every situation, there is an unseen move. Black can strike you by playing knight to f5, attacking the queen. As the queen moves, despite the knight being under attack, black will happily sacrifice his queen by capturing the bishop. After you capture the queen, rook takes rook, and the bishop is under attack. So after rook e2, black will likely play rook e3, attacking your vulnerable pieces and not capturing the rook. That is his plan and a powerful tactic because, after the exchanges, at the end of the day, he has 3 minor pieces for the queen, a bishop and knight for the rook, and 1 pawn. Also, the knight is under attack, and rook takes b3 is coming to control the rank. Believe it or not, this position is favorable for black because the white king and pieces are not well coordinated. The game would be over for you. So, let me share an impressive and life quote with you. If you must look back, do so forgivingly. If you will look forward, do so prayerfully, but the wisest course would be to be present in the present gratefully. So, going back to the position, we discover that playing e5 is a very bad choice. This is why I move my knight back to d1 because I want to maneuver my knight, and get it out from under the bishop's attack. As the queen moves and the knight comes to f2, you can see that I have a 3-pawn structure in the center. By playing bishop d2, my knight will get the g5 outpost, and you cannot play any passive moves more than twice. Let me illustrate the variation and what I am thinking. You are not a computer that I can plug an USB drive into your brain and show you all my analysis. So I have to show you practically. After rook b7, bishop to d2 will come, and as the rook moves again, knight followed by knight h3, the rook has only one job. Then I can strike by playing f5, attacking the pawn, and the bishop holds significant advantages through this diagonal. Bishop to g5 is also coming to attack the queen. After you capture by force, I will play bishop g5, attacking the queen, and the queen has no choice but to move. as the queen moves, knight to f4 will come, trapping the queen, and the game will be over. But wait, many chess players might think of playing bishop to e5 to pin the knight. Well done, many chess players, you are my subscribers, and you proved it today, but you know what? I am thinking beyond that. I will move my queen back, and after the capture and recapture, the queen is under attack. After queen f6 followed by bishop g5, the queen cannot go to g6 because of bishop e7, which will pressure the queen again. After queen e5 and the pawn capture, you can see that the queen and rook will be under attack. As the queen moves, I will just pick up your rook in the next move, and I will win the game. This indicates my strategy and tactics beyond your ideas, and the game will be over for you. Going back to the position, we discovered that playing any passive-looking moves more than twice will create a losing situation for you. That's the reason why we have rook a8 followed by knight h3. You can see that I am going to accomplish my attacks on the king side. As the king moves back, can you guess what I played in this position? I'll give you a few seconds to think. Try to pause and think of the best move, the move that might even shock you, knight to e6. What an incredible sacrifice it is. If you capture the knight with the pawn, then I will capture it back, and I will push my pawn forward with a check. Your knight on d7 will be under attack, and it cannot move to any safe squares. The knight will have to go to b8. If you try to protect the knight, you have no choice but to send him back to its initial position. Then I will consider queen takes g6. You might be surprised that I am exchanging my queen while being down material. But remember, when Stockfish does something, it is universally applicable. If I am exchanging my queen while being down a knight, it means I have an idea. The idea is very simple, to checkmate. Now, playing king f8 would be a bad choice. If you play king h7 to attack my rook, I will push my pawn, creating a 4-pawn structure. After you bring your knight to c6, followed by bishop d2 and knight e7 attacking my rook, it doesn't matter, I can check you again, forcing the king to move, and f6 will come, winning your pawn and your knight. Also, the bishop has an open diagonal, and the game is completely winning for me. Now you see the idea. Do like and subscribe to my channel. Wait. The video didn't end here. I have more chess tactics and strategies to show you. Going back to the position, we discovered that capturing the knight is not viable, which is why we just have bishop to a1 followed by rook a2. After a couple of moves, we have queen to g5, and you still cannot capture the knight. If you capture it, your knight is under attack, and it has no good squares to go to. The knight has to retreat to b8, moving the knight back to f8 will face e7 move. So, as the knight moves, we have e7 check, and I will consider queen to h6, leading to a checkmate. The game will be over for you. So, going back to the position, we discovered that capturing the knight is still not possible because white can counterattack. After a4 and a few more moves, I invade the center by playing e5, attacking the pawn. If you capture the pawn, which looks reasonable, queen h6 will put your kingside in a terrible condition. You must consider king safety, similar to securing your home with locks and CCTV cameras to prevent thieves. After the knight is captured, I will capture the knight back, threatening to capture the pawn with a bishop attack. That's why the knight comes to f6, but that does nothing because I can capture the knight, leading to checkmate. The game will be over for you. So, let me provide you an amazing quote about life. Loyalty is what makes us trust, trust is what makes us stay, staying is what makes us love, and love is what gives us hope. Going back to the position, capturing the knight is still not possible. Some may think of capturing the pawn on f4, protecting the knight with the queen, but that doesn't matter either because I can push my pawn forward, the bishop line opens up, and you still cannot capture my knight. My knight is like a fork that has come into your house, and you cannot attack it. After bishop takes e6, the king has to move, and queen to h8 will lead to a checkmate. The game will be over again. Going back to the position, as the knight cannot capture, queen to f6 might be considered by many chess players. However, after knight g5 happens, it will pressure the f7 pawn again. I am also threatening to play queen to h7 check, forcing the king to move, and queen h8 will lead to a checkmate. The game will be over. and we observed how black gets smashed by a road roller driven by Stockfish. Ruby chess considered capturing the pawn on e5, my knight is under attack, and after the capture happens, you still cannot capture the knight. I will play f4, protecting the pawn and blocking the queen's entry point. I will capture the pawn and sincerely attack the knight. After the capture and recapture, your knight is under attack. Even if you capture the pawn, I will capture the e6 pawn. There is a potential chance that my bishop can give you a discovered check. Even if you consider rook a7 to protect the knight, I will check you, and consequently, queen to h6 will lead to a checkmate. The game will be over again. That's bad luck for you. It's like making achievements and success in your life, but when one goal is complete, bigger goals appear, and that continues to happen. You end up postponing your happiness for bigger successes, indulging yourself too much, which steals your happiness. This happens to most of us. Going back to the position, we discovered that the knight cannot capture, which is why we just have pawn capture, and after rook capture happens on the board, I pick up the pawn. The bishop cannot go to the e2 square because black can push his pawn and promote it to a new queen. That's why we have bishop capture and recapture, and after a couple of moves, you can see that you still cannot capture my knight. Your vulnerable position remains because after queen f6 check and the king moves back, I will play e6, attacking the pawn. As the rook comes to a7, capture and recapture, followed by rook takes g6, a check happens, the king moves, and queen to d8 will lead to a checkmate. So, going back to the position, Ruby didn't capture the knight. Instead, he captured the pawn. As the pawn was captured, we had a queen exchange. At the end of the day, you can see that I have an extra knight, and that is completely winning the endgame for me. I'm not going to show you the endgame because it is easily winnable for anyone, and that's how I won the game. I hope you enjoyed the game very much. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye, take care, see you soon.